On this day, 24 years ago, a young man left a Christmas party around 3:30 a.m. He was caught in a massive rainstorm and it was a taxi strike that night. So what he did was called into his workplace to get an umbrella. And then he's seen walking away. He's caught on CCTV further down the road. And then, poof, this young man just completely vanished. Lots of theories have been put forward about the suspicious shadow men that were also caught on CCTV around the time that this young man was on his way home. I've followed this case on and off for quite a few years now, and it's incredibly sinister. But with more recent developments, perhaps it's a little less sinister than I originally thought, but it's still mighty suspicious. This is the case of Trevor Deely. Trevor Deely was born on August the 15th, 1978. His parents were called Michael and Anne, and he was the youngest of 4 children. He grew up in Nass, which is in County Kildare in Ireland. He was a clever guy, but he wasn't absolutely sure what he wanted to do with his life. He studied business at the Waterford Institute of Technology, but he dropped out of that. He just didn't know what he wanted to do. He found he was good at math and decided to take a computer course, which he completed in May of 1999. He had several jobs, but he landed on his feet, working for the Bank of Ireland Asset Management in IT. He was a really good worker. He was well liked by the managers, who said he was almost the perfect employee. He was reliable, nothing was too much trouble, he was hungry to learn, and he mingled well with everyone in the company. He was a very happy guy. Got on really well with his co-workers. On a Thursday night, they tended to go out. It was just a tradition. Now, we get to this night, the 7th of December. There was a Christmas party just down the street from the bank. After the party finished and the majority of people went home to their beds, Trevor and some pals, including his manager, I think, went on to party some more. Finally, at about 3:30, Trevor decided to leave to go and get some shut-eye. It was a very rainy night, very stormy, and there was a taxi workers' strike. So Trevor's only option, at that late hour, no buses running at that time, was to walk home. But it wasn't that far, and since the bank was nearby, he decided to pop in and grab an umbrella before making the 20 to 30 minute walk to his apartment. He lived on Serpentine Avenue in the Ballsbridge neighbourhood. So when he failed to show up to work the next day, nobody thought anything of it. They'd partied well into the night. There was a lot of people absent that day, believe it or not. So it was actually Monday before anybody realised that Trevor was missing. His friends and his family didn't hear from him throughout that weekend, and he tentatively made plans with a group of friends and also with his family. But each had assumed that he was busy elsewhere. So it was Monday, and Trevor didn't show up for work. Now remember, Trevor hadn't been heard from since the early hours of Friday morning. So we're now Monday, we're now like 3 days, and Trevor had been missing that entire time. So someone from his work contacted his next of kin, which was his parents. He's not just going to go completely off the radar unless there's something really wrong. So that's where the search began. His family turned up en masse in Dublin to search for him. By the time that cops had got themselves all organised, his family had already started like a poster campaign. Like there was missing posters up. Incredibly proactive. What the cops did manage to do was piece together a really tight timeline based on CCTV footage from the area. This is, you know, it's a city. It's very well surveilled, even back in the year 2000. I'm going to walk through that CCTV in a minute, and we need to talk about the mysterious shadow men. So here is the CCTV. Ignore this time here. You're looking at this time here. And just gone 3:30. This is Trevor's workplace. And there's this guy, dressed in black, kind of wandering around like he's waiting for somebody. And he's been there for several minutes. Just kind of standing there. Anyway, if we fast forward a few minutes, at 3:34, Trevor arrives on the scene, speaking with a co-worker, the security guy, to let him in. There's that guy. He's still hanging around. And here comes Trevor. And they exchange some conversation. Now, Trevor wasn't alarmed by this man, unknown whether he knew this guy at all, but he seemed unconcerned, so much so that whilst he was there in his workplace, half an hour, chatting to the security guy, never mentioned that there was a man outside. And you would think that if he was concerned, or if this man was behaving really suspiciously, then he would have mentioned it. So this is Trevor now coming out at 4:02. 4:02. So he closes the gate behind him. The man in black has gone. So he zips up his coat. Presumably it's still raining, because he also puts up his umbrella in a minute. So he stands there a second. Not sure what he's doing, apart from fiddling with his umbrella, but there he goes. There he goes. Not followed. While inside the bank, two other guys appear at the gate and simply stand there staring through it. The CCTV was cleaned up, and it was determined that these two guys were Trevor's co-workers, and they were cleared of suspicion. So this place is getting a little bit busy in the middle of the night. Presumably these co-workers have been out and about as well, and were maybe, I don't know what they were doing. But they were cleared. The man in black, however, he's never been cleared, and he's never come forward. The final time that Trevor is caught on CCTV, he's passing an ATM near Haddington Road and Bagot Street Bridge. Here he comes in a minute, 4:14, got his umbrella up, and then a few seconds later, a man follows him. Now, I always thought that the man in black, even though Trevor wasn't concerned by him being there, they exchanged pleasantries, I thought that man followed him and something very untoward and very sinister happened. Trevor never made it home. He shared his apartment, by the way, with two roommates who, I think they were away for the weekend, so they didn't realise that Trevor had never gone home. So he disappeared between Haddington Road and Bagot Street Bridge and his apartment on Serpentine Avenue. Okay, so here's where we're looking at on the map. This is the Bagot Street Bridge, and then up here is Haddington Road. Now, this is not the direction Google gives me to go to Serpentine Avenue. Serpentine Avenue is over here. Serpentine Avenue runs along here. But Trevor is walking up Haddington Road, so he's taking a longer route home. Why? Is it because it's more well lit? We've no idea why he decided to walk up Haddington Road. Now, the Bagot Street Bridge does go over a waterway, which was searched with no results. However, the canal basin itself couldn't be thoroughly explored because it's really deep, and draining the entire basin would threaten the structural integrity of the surrounding buildings. Detective Sergeant Fitzgerald said, "There are 3 waterways that come into play: the Grand Canal, the River Dodder, and the Grand Canal Basin. I remember us watching the sea going out to the Pigeon House and watching the tides coming in and out. They can look at the Grand Canal Basin, but they can never drain it because the buildings around it would fall in." Crazy. They did have a look at it, as far as you can look at it, but you'd like to be able to drain it. God only knows what's down there. One of the divers, someone called Tosh Lavery, said, "If we had come up with a body in the canal, the investigation would have been over. But we don't, and the investigation gets bigger and bigger. The brolly was never found, and for me, that says he never went into the water." Yeah, but you've got to remember that Trevor had been missing for 3 days before anybody ever realised he was missing. All day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and now we're into the 4th day, Monday. So if he'd gone into the water, that umbrella could have been blown away, all sorts of things could have happened. Someone could have picked it up, not realising. So anyway, there's the canal, and there's the canal basin. It's crazy that they can't drain it. Something I've been more suspicious of than the canal is the river. So if he carried on going up Haddington Road and just carried on going and kind of taking this long route round, he'd have got to this area, the River Dodder, and then he comes back round to go to Serpentine Avenue. You could fall in to this river. There are areas where you can fall in, like there's a wall, and then along here you could just fall in. But the path is reasonably away from the river. I don't know. The River Dodder then feeds into this bigger river here, and then that's straight out into the sea. Like Dublin's a port. He could have been out to sea by the time they even realised he was missing. But the question would be, did he fall in or was he pushed? Nothing has ever been found. The umbrella, his phone, nothing. Nothing has ever been found that gives anybody any idea of where Trevor might have gone. Now, something that did hamper the search, and maybe even the brolly got taken away before people ever realised that Trevor was missing, is because Bill Clinton was visiting Dublin in a few days' time, and the streets had all been like thoroughly cleaned, and then, you know, anything like manholes and stuff like that were all like secured up so that people couldn't drop a bomb in there and blow Bill Clinton up. So we don't know whether Trevor's brolly, his wallet, could have been cleaned up in that effort to tidy the streets ready for Bill Clinton. Now, I think the main theory has always been the man in black at the gate, and then the man in black that followed him. However, last year, so 23 years later, the news came out that the man captured on CCTV walking behind him on Haddington Road had been identified 23 years later. Mark Deely said that the police had since spoken to that man, identified him, and were totally happy there was nothing sinister involved in his movements. That he was just walking home. There was a doubt over whether or not that person was the same person tracking Trevor down Haddington Road. "It's not," Mr. Deely said. "We'd love to know who that person is." So that person is still in play. The man walking down the road isn't. But the man at the gate, so he'd been there for like half an hour previous. Now, nobody knew that Trevor was going to go there, though. So it wasn't like he was waiting for Trevor. It's just really weird. So, I don't know. Did Trevor fall in the canal? Did he fall in the river? Has he been down there in a watery grave the whole time? But who is that shadow man? Who is he? I don't know. Let me know what you think about this suspicious case in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.